What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Be Tempered Podcast, episode number
34.
34. Moving right along, getting close to the holiday season.
Yeah. Got all our Christmas shopping done?
No. Yes.
Excuse me. Does Kim have all the Christmas shopping done?
Yes.
Yes, there. Yeah,
yes.
I just had to phrase it the proper way.
That's right. Boy, do we have an unreal story today on the podcast. I had reached out to the Travis Mills Foundation, which you'll learn a bit about Travis's story coming up in the next couple episodes. But the episode today, Chris Roseberry, how powerful is that?
It was extremely powerful.
I think when everybody hears this story of Chris and what he went through in the Army and his story growing up, goes into the Army and has a motorcycle accident and causes a loss of limb. Then he's where was he at? He was overseas and gets his foot wedged, his prosthesis wedged. After he goes through, loses his leg, comes through, gets back in the Army. He's overseas serving his country, getting shot at.
Yeah, and they ducked in a bunker.
Yeah.
And he said 2 rocks were perfectly placed. And his foot got stuck in it.
And his prosthesis rubbed his leg raw, rubbed the skin off of it. And he has to take another 4 inches off his leg. I mean, just unbelievable. And I think what you're going to hear as we go through this interview is he just kind of glosses over it like it's no big deal.
Right.
You talk about a leader, you talk about pain tolerance, you talk about resilience, and that's not even the biggest part of the story. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to tell you what happens later on in his life with his family, but I just encourage you to listen this one through because, we've had some unbelievable guests on that have some amazing stories about going through the fire. And Chris's story it might be one of the top ones as far as perseverance, as far as grit, fortitude, pushing through, keeping going. Just an amazing story. Yeah.
And I just keep thinking, soldiers go through so much. I mean, you leave your families for a long period of time, and then you throw in these big, ginormous, obstacles he keeps having to face. And every time, like you said, he kind of glosses over it. I mean, it's just that warrior mentality of, God keep moving on, God keep moving on. And like you said, you don't want to say the other thing that happened to him, but Evie's 4, and that's when he was talking about with his daughter Emma, just the conversation there. That really hit a heartstring. How that conversation would go with Evie and stuff like that from just me personally.
What's hard for me in doing these podcasts, and I've told some people that is, you get so engulfed in these stories when they're telling it, and then I find myself like, okay, I got to ask the next question, but I'm so engulfed in what they're talking about. And that, with Chris, that's where I was at, and I knew what was coming. I read his bio and before, and I had a conversation with him last week before he came on. But just a brief thing about Chris is he's a retired first sergeant in the Army, and he served all over the world, and through a couple different accidents, and then the tragedy that happens here just a year ago. Mm-hmm. Just unbelievable. But we came across Chris through the Travis Mills Foundation, and he's the facilities director there, and it's up in Maine, and it's an amazing foundation, which I encourage you all to check out. Where they help servicemen and women and first responders get through difficulties, whether it's through the loss of a limb or it's through PTSD or any ailments that these men and women may be facing because of the service that they provided to our country. So, enjoy this episode. Be sure to share it with your friends and family and anybody out there who you might know who have served our country, because it's a powerful one.
Yeah, I agree. And we can't thank everybody enough for all the support that you give us. And we just hope you really enjoy this episode.
Go out and be tempered.
Hi, my name is Allie Schmidt. This is my dad, Dan. He owns Catron's Glass.
Thanks, Allie. Things like doors and windows go into making a house. But when it's your home, you expect more, like the great service and selection you'll get from Catron's Glass. Vinyl replacement windows from Catrons come with a lifetime warranty, including accidental glass breakage replacement. Also ask for custom shower doors and many other products and services. Call 962-1636. Locally owned with local employees for nearly 30 years.
Catrons Glass, the clear choice.
Welcome to the Be Tempered podcast, where we explore the art of finding balance in a chaotic world.
Join us as we delve into insightful conversations, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience.
We're your host, Dan Schmidt, and
Ben Spar.
let's embark on a journey to live our best lives.
This is Be Tempered.
Welcome, Chris Roseberry, to the Be Tempered podcast. How you doing, man?
Good. Thank you very much for having me. Definitely appreciate it. Good to talk to you guys and see what we can get out there.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. You know, I got on the Travis Mills Foundation website because I had heard Travis's story, and then through that connection on the website, I talked to Heather, and Heather said, "Hey, I got a guy who's got a story who I think needs to be told because Travis is a busy man." And you're a busy man, but she volunteered you to come on here and to tell your story. So I'm excited to hear it.
Like I told you, we were talking the other day. Yes, I'm the token amputee when Travis is out on the road. So.
That's awesome. So what we like to do is we like to start from the beginning, kind of tell your story growing up, where you grew up, and then what led you into the service.
So let's see. I grew up in Lincoln, Illinois, right in the middle of cornfield country. My parents own a hardware store, a little shopping center. So I grew up around all the hardware type stuff. And my dad's also a gun dealer, so got to shoot a lot when I was a kid. My grandparents had a farm, so I was used to being around all kinds of Black Angus cattle and in that regard. So as much as people think I'm a city boy, I'm actually kind of a country boy. More or less, maybe not for that much of my life, but long enough. And from there, like I said, I moved from Illinois to Ohio with my biological father. As you and I talked the other day, I consider my stepdad my father, but moved to Ohio and went to school up there from I think it was 8th grade through high school. So I graduated in Galion, Ohio. Through that, my brother is also in the military. He's a colonel. And he had joined the military, I think I was in my junior year. In my senior year, I got all the hopes. I'm going to play football for college. I'm this great quarterback. Everyone's going to want me type thing. And then kind of towards the end of my senior year, I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to do because I got to pay for college. So my brother talked me into enlisting into the military. He's always good advice from him. He's the more mature guy, the I'm going to be smart and get A's in school and be in the band and be in all the school plays and stuff like that. And then I was the more jock of the person, a little more carefree and didn't really stay on top of the whole A's type thing. I was more of a BC guy. But no, he'd talked me into enlisting in the military, more or less, I was thinking college. And I enlisted for 4 years in 1996. And then 4 years turned into 8 years, and then 8 years turned into a career. Figured once I hit 8 years, no sense in getting out now because I'm, 12 years from when I can actually retire. So stuck with it, and like my goal of being in the military is always to be, make it to first sergeant, which I did. With everything else that happened in between there, which I'm sure we're going to cover. Actually being able to make it to that point in my career, I was happy when I retired, although I didn't want to, but I had to make some decisions. And that's kind of me in a nutshell as far as from where I could walk to where I am now.
Yeah. So being an athlete in high school and then you sign up for the Army, what was it like going through boot camp compared to maybe 2-a-days in football?
Totally different. When I went through basic training, we were still getting screamed at and bags being thrown everywhere and getting stepped on, and a little more physical as far as hands-on than what we do today. So it was, even though I knew what to expect from listening to my brother, it was definitely a very quick culture shock from the time that what we used to call the cattle trailers, because it was just a little short semi trailer with benches, and you're packed in there like sardines. But from the time that that door opened and we're getting screamed at to get out, and we're all falling off the stairs and tripping over each other and everything else, it opened my eyes and be like, yep, this is different than what I'm going to be used to for sure. So it was definitely night and day.
Yeah. At any time when you're starting that early career in the Army, did you ever say, man, I wish I'd have went and played college football, or wish I would have went to college?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I think anyone's, when you're in sports in high school's dream to be able to keep doing that. So yes, there's always those moments, but then, once you start to, form those bonds with those you're around, it kind of, shifts your outlook on life. So I'm kind of glad that, obviously the direction in life I took really worked out for me, but I'm glad at that young age I said, let's stick with this, is other than having to work hard and, do what you do as far as the military goes. I mean, you live for free, you ate for free. You got to do some cool stuff, not so cool stuff. You got to go to different countries, usually for not the reason you want to go to the different countries, but it was good. And it's a glide path in life I'm glad I stuck with. But yes, to answer your question, of course, some of those times sitting on the couch is like, man, I wish I was in college, playing sports. And then of course, all the other stuff that comes along with the fun in college, but you kind of make up for that in the military too, as a young soldier. So you still kind of get the party and frat type, vibe a little bit when you're young, but then as you progress in your career, you kind of leave that behind for the most part. So you still kind of get the college vibe as far as having fun. But yeah, no, it would have been great to do that, but I was glad on the decisions I made.
So at some point in time, you get deployed, right?
Yeah. So I was in Bosnia and Kosovo. There was 99, 2000 time frame. Then pretty much after 9/11 kicked off, it was all training geared to deploy. So I was in Afghanistan, as Iraq. First went to Iraq first in 2003, and then we did Afghanistan in 2007, and then 2009, 2010. And then 2009, 2010 was my last deployment overseas, leading up to my retirement in 2016 with, everything that happened between 2010 and 2016 timeframe, which ultimately was my decision on why, I ended up retiring. But I deployed Bosnia, Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan. The first two are night and day from the last two, obviously for different reasons. But, first half is peacekeeping, and obviously Afghanistan and Iraq are, a totally different beast.
Yeah. So back up a little bit to 9/11. That's one of those moments in history where I know exactly where I was at the day. The minute that I heard the news, I remember seeing the second plane hit the tower, but I was building houses in Cincinnati. You're in the Army. Talk about what that was like for you that day.
So for me, it was actually pretty strange. We didn't know what happened for about 2.5 hours after it happened. So I was actually at the JRTC in Fort Polk, Louisiana. We were doing our train up to go over to Kosovo, and we were out running some of our training missions. And it's kind of odd, we were doing some patrols into some of the mock towns or whatnot, and we got to this one, and everyone just kind of stopped. It was dead silence. All of our radio communication stopped. The OCs, the trainers that are out there certifying us and whatnot, kind of put us in a squat hold. You saw TVs turn off and radios turn off, that some of the out for who were helping facilitate our training, just kind of everything got quiet. So we went into a holding pattern for about 2.5 hours before we knew what was going on. And finally, now it's more for, obviously we had soldiers or whatnot that had, family that worked in the World Trade Center. So we didn't want to start, getting everyone all spun up before we actually knew, what was going on. So once we were informed, they pulled us back, briefed us on what was going on. We had, pull all of our soldiers in and, give them briefings, say, this is what happened. We don't have any, idea what's going on right now. Do we have any, people that have any relatives or friends or whatnot that work in the World Trade Center? So it was different to go from a peacekeeping frame of mind of training to knowing what just happened, and our focus shifting to what turned into the global war on terrorism. So being over in Kosovo or whatnot, doing the peacekeeping, you wanted to be in a different fight, and obviously we all ended up there. There was the beginning of what happened in Afghanistan. It was all of our special operators who went in there and did what they had to do. And then, all of us regular Army moved in and did our thing after they were done. So it was definitely very different on how we were notified, just, due to the fact of what we were actually training up for. So it was a really eerie feeling at first.
Yeah, for sure. I think eerie feeling for everybody. I mean, I just remember the shock of watching all that happen, and then thinking, "Holy cow, where do we go from here?" And as a country, and I just can't imagine being in the military at that time, and trying to figure out, okay, what's next.
Yeah, and then my brother, my brother is actually a captain at Fort Polk with the 509th, which is the unit that actually facilitates the aggressors in our training. And they hadn't showed us any videos of the plane striking the towers or whatnot right off the bat. And I happened to be with my brother, and he's when my brother showed up and him and I were talking about everything. He actually, first time I saw the plane strike the World Trade Center is when I was with him, because they'd withheld that from us for quite some time. So even really, getting the full effect of what happened, other than us being told until you saw the videos, is really when it really impacted you. Like I said, my brother was stationed out there at the time, which is how I got to see it prior to them actually releasing it to us. But so yeah, it was having my brother there when something like this happened was just kind of a one in a million. But and he was an officer at that time. I'm a young specialist in the military, so as always, looking up to him, getting a lot of the information from him, actually helped me a lot because he could explain it better than obviously what I could. But so it was kind of comforting to have him there to actually show me everything that really happened before we actually got informed. So
yeah. So moving ahead, there was a pretty significant event that happened in 2005 to you. Can you kind of explain what happened and what came from that?
Yeah. So all my initial injuries were actually from a motorcycle accident. I had a car that was coming at me head on, went left to center. The irony of my accident, I was actually doing everything correct, and I was actually under the speed limit when I had my accident. But I swerved to miss the car. Bike went up from underneath me and threw me over the handlebars. When I hit the ground, I had put my arm and leg up to block the bike from falling on me. By doing that, the back tire is obviously still spinning, and my foot went in the back tire, and it had taken my foot off. From that point, obviously, I don't remember anything else, because of all the shock. But it ended up shattering my upper arm, and then laid on me and pushed me into a fence post where I broke my C2 through C7 vertebrae in my neck. So I was in Walter Reed Medical Center for probably about a year and a half, recovering. The most extensive injuries that I was recovering for was obviously my neck break. So it was a long process, and I was a young staff sergeant at the time. So a lot of my thoughts were like, okay, what do I do now? I got these injuries. I'm missing my leg. How am I going to work? Is anybody going to allow me to work? So, you're dealing with all the other stuff while you're laying in the hospital bed, but then on the back end, it's like, well, what do I do now? All I know is the military. I'd been doing it for 10 years at that point. So it was not only with the accident, but not knowing what's going to come after the accident was, it's pretty scary. And I'd actually got lucky because the Army had just changed its policy from for people like myself that we could stay in the military, and if we could still perform our own job, we could, keep with it. And, or they would, find something that you could do if you could, physically meet the requirements. Like I still had to pass a PT test, which I did. And I was lucky to be able to, continue my job. I kept jumping out of airplanes. Don't know if that's smart or not, but it was fun. Still got to deploy. So it was a long, I talked through it fast. So it was a long recovery process. Coming back from the hospital, my unit was deploying to Afghanistan. So now, my soldiers that were underneath me are going to deploy without me. So there was a lot of, emotions going through my head, other than the accident, coming back to Fort Bragg to see my people, my soldiers, go off to Afghanistan without me, which was very hard, knowing I was going to be on the ground with them. I guess that kind of fueled my after hospital recovery, to keep doing, what I love to do and what the only thing I knew at that time. So there was the accident was hard, but everything after the accident, I think, was even harder. Try to keep my mind straight and stay focused, and try to get the what do I do now, out of my head, and just go until somebody says, well, we have to go this route. But I didn't stop until someone told me, yay or nay what I was doing. So I was blessed in a lot of regards as far as where I got to continue to go on my my glide path for life.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like, you had all the physical difficulties where, they end up amputating your leg. You got broken bones. But would you say that maybe the mental was even harder than getting over the physical?
I would say the mental was. I don't think I ever let it drag me down, but more, it scared me more than anything. Just pondering on it. I never had any ill will thought or anything like that, but it definitely would scare me. Especially when you're in a hospital. You're sitting in a hospital bed, and you can only watch so much TV and take your mind off of life in front of you. But it was scary sitting back, trying to think on what was next. And once again, I was blessed because my brother just happened to be stationed in Aberdeen Proving Grounds in Maryland. So my brother was literally 2 hours away from the hospital. So once again, he was there for me, and which obviously helped me a lot. So once again, luck was on my side, kind of like with the, when we were talking about 9/11. My brother has got me through a lot. I feel sorry for my brother too, because he was my next of kin on my phone call. He got the phone call while I was in the hospital. I was in a coma for a few, I think a week or so or whatnot. And when I came back through, I guess, subconsciously I knew what had happened to me. And I guess I came conscious for a little bit. I don't remember this, but looked at my brother and kind of did, a little sawing motion like that and pointed to my leg, and, he went through and told me. And then like 4 or 5 days later, when I actually came through, I put him through it again. He had to explain it to me again. So my brother had a lot of the hard parts of this accident too. He's with me from the beginning to the end, in one way or another. So, having him with me, I think really kept me focused more. So I didn't ponder too much and let any of those demons kind of, sneak up on me or whatnot. My brother was a big influence on, my decision-making and motivation going forward.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing man and a very important man in your life, as are, I think, just like my brother and most brothers. But, trying to get you through those times, I'm sure were very, very difficult for him just to even have those conversations.
Oh, yeah. Him and I, we joke about it now. But I probably started off as the first gray hair that he probably started getting, just from what I put him through. But yeah, no, he was very instrumental in during that time, and really where I'm at now, because he's the one that talked me into to join the military to begin with. So I forgot to turn my ringer off. Sorry. But he was very instrumental in, life just in general to get me where I am now. Whether it was, just being the older, mature brother, financially teaching me how to, work my money, especially once, as a young person, obviously at the time we learned how to write checks in between, pay periods. So they'd at least, they clear the bank once, when everything hit. But, as a young guy financially, you get yourself in a bind, but he was always there for stuff like that. He was the mentor, I guess, at the time I needed when I was younger, and not just younger, but and today where he's at right now. So he's very, he's very much an influence in my life, and still is.
Yeah, and at some point you recover from those injuries, and then you continue, right? You continue back in the service. Kind of talk about how that looked and how that went. Well,
I honestly think I kind of got lost in the in the paperwork shuffle because you go through the military process and you get hurt or whatnot. There's what they call a medical review board. And they, all your documented injuries or whatnot, they go up in front of a panel. And then this panel decides on, whether, you're good to stay in the Army, what your disability rating is, and kind of things like that. Well, I was already back in my unit for 2 years before my med board even caught up with me, which I don't know how that happened. There were so many people watching at that time. I'm sure I slipped through the cracks somehow, but, I was already, back to, taking PT test and passing my PT test and going out to, ranges and qualifying on all my weapons and jumping out of airplanes and everything else by the time my med board packet caught up with me to say whether I could stay in or couldn't stay in. So obviously they sent that back to Walter Reed and it was back in about 24 hours saying I was good to go. But yeah, I think that one of the hardest things I kind of thought about is how my subordinates and peers would look at me as far as being in leadership roles, being an amputee. I told myself, once I was allowed to stay in, when it came to that point to where I couldn't do the same thing, I was asking my soldiers to do, it's time for me to check out. And I stuck with that. Once we'll cover here in a little bit, I'm sure, but when I had to have more surgery done, it came to that point. But there was a lot of obstacles. I was kind of nervous myself, on how people would look as far as me still continue to be a leader and lead soldiers and training and things like that. But there was never one time that I know of that, whether it's my soldiers or peers or those above me that ever doubted anything I could do, which, I think was another motivator, which kept pushing me to do everything I did, pre-injury, with all the training and, still keeping on airborne status and, doing all the jumps with my guys and, just all the training in general. That kept me going, quite a bit. I kept trying to be, better than that next person. Obviously my 2 mile run time wasn't as good as it used to be, but I was still staying around the 15 minute mark, which I guess missing a leg was really good. So there was a lot of motivators in there that, kept me going as far as continuing to do what I did prior to being injured.
You kind of glossed over something there. I've never jumped out of a plane in my life. And I'm trying to picture how you would land with a prosthetic. What was that like the first time?
The first time I jumped, I laid on the ground and said, why in the hell am I still doing this? I hit the ground so hard, and I was terrified. Cause I was like, okay, how am I going to land? I can't go right or left because I don't have any, motion in that right leg to where my knee will allow me to go right or left. So it's either go forward or fall backwards. And, obviously I was thinking about my neck and my back hitting the ground. Was I going to mess something on that? I was terrified. But I hit the ground so hard. I was like, do I really want to do this? But, I walked away from that jump, kind of bruised up, but I didn't show anybody that. I learned to just place my body in a position where I could do a rear landing fall. So, I usually it's like, balls of your feet, calf, thigh, buttocks, and your shoulder. I pretty much just went heels butt and then just kind of rolled over the rest of my career. But yeah, that first time was terrifying. And every time after that, I think it was pretty much business as usual. And it's funny because not everybody on that jump knew I was missing a leg, which is kind of funny. But once you hit the ground, you pack up your chute and you're supposed to run off, the drop zone. Either you're running to get on where the trucks are at, or you're running to turn in your chutes and then continue on with the mission. So the first time I jumped, I packed my stuff up and I wasn't really running. I was just kind of walking. I was a little sore and my leg was a little not on my leg properly where I could adjust it. So I was trying to get over there before I did any of that. I remember someone yelling at me, "Hurry up, quit walking, quit running." And I kept walking. So then they were getting even more mad. So when I got over there, I set it down. It was some major colonel. I can't remember what it was, but I got over there, I pulled my pant leg and he's like, "All right, you're good. You're good." And he grabbed my shoe and went and turned it in for me. So, we'd be sitting at the green ramp when we're in the pack sheds, putting all our chutes and stuff on. We jumped with all kinds of different units. So obviously everyone within my unit, knew I was missing a leg. But like when you jump with other units, and I would kind of mess with people sometimes. So I'd make sure people could see I was missing a leg as I'm getting my parachute on, just so I could, see what their people watching eyes would do. It was a lot of fun. And we always talked about, okay, well, if I jump this leg and break it, how am I going to jump with another leg? Do I strap it on the side of my rucksack or, things like that? And we jokingly do it sometimes and people look over and be like, "What the hell is this dude doing?" So I think a lot of people thought I was crazy. Well, I think some people thought I was crazy anyway, just from jumping. But yeah, no, I mean, as far as, going back to doing everything before, I mean, there's trials and errors and sometimes the doubts, but, I always had, people on my right or left that would motivate me to keep going and be like, "Yeah, hell, you're doing this better than we do." So it's like, okay, if you're telling me that, then I'll keep going. Like I said, I never had anyone look down on me as far as whether I could keep doing what I did before, and obviously that was a big motivator in itself. So yeah, so that's kind of from pre-injury to post-injury as far as in that time frame. So yeah.
Yeah, and then you also had to deal with a re-injury of that leg in 2015.
Yeah.
So talk about that.
So in 2010 is actually when I injured it. So I was in Afghanistan in 2009, 2010. And we were on a mission. This is right at the tail end of maybe we had a month and a half before we rotated back to the States. And we got in a firefight, and there was a bunch of rocket propelled grenades getting fired at us. So my medic and I were like, "Hey, we should probably jump down in this ditch so we don't get hit by something." So we jumped down in there, and wouldn't you know that there was these two perfectly placed rocks side by side like that. So my prosthetic foot decides to go right in between those two perfectly placed rocks. So when they went in there, obviously my foot's not going to go anywhere. So my leg twisted inside the prosthetic. So basically, so if this is the bottom of my leg, when we hit the ground, my end of my leg just twisted like that inside the socket. So it tore all the skin off the end of my prosthetic side. So it just took a long time for that to heal. I still didn't go back to the States. I stayed there and bandaged it up until it would heal enough where I could go back on a mission. But so I got back to the States and just doing. Like go out and say I ran 2 miles one day or something like that. It'd be fine for months. And then I do that one run where I'd tear it open and, then it'd, lay me up for a week or so or it'd get infected. And it just got to the point to where I was doing it more often. So it happened when we were doing a run. I think it would have been late 2014. I tore it open again. It's like, I got to do something because it keeps slowing me down. I'm always limping around because I want to keep up with everybody else, but it's kind of hindering what I should be doing. So I went to Walter Reed, had Dr. Potter, who's one of the surgeons up there, look at it. He said, well, we could try to do this first. And then you go back to Bragg, let us know, how that does. So I went back, had some more prosthetic work done. And it just wouldn't stop, tearing open. So finally, Went back up there and they scheduled a time for me to have a revision done on my leg. So they ended up taking another 4 inches of my leg off in 2015. And, I figured, I've already been an amputee for that would have been 10 years at that point. 20, yeah, we're at 10 years at that point. So it's like, they're going to do the surgery. In 6 months, I'm going to have this prosthetic back on, still be running circles around people, et cetera, et cetera. But they did a surgery, which went good. Going through the recovery process, and I just started getting tons of nerve pain. So when they did this revision surgery, they don't know exactly where all the nerve endings are in your leg once they do the surgery. So I started walking on those nerve endings, which is extremely painful. So that set my recovery back. I'd go back in. They put a dye in your leg, and it kind of shows where the nerves are. So they go back in there and they reroute the nerves, so you're not walking on them. Long story short, what I thought would take maybe 6 months ended up being, 13, 14 months long. And even once I left in, I didn't feel like I was where I should be. Went back to Fort Bragg and I do some runs and stuff like that. And it just, it wasn't like it was before. I wasn't being able to do as much as I was. I couldn't be as aggressive as I was before. So as I stated earlier when we were talking, is I always made it a point to remind myself that I would never tell my soldiers, subordinates what to do if I couldn't do it myself. So it came to that point, I had to make that decision that, it's time to drop the retirement packet and probably go find something a little less high impact to go do, which is what, kind of led me here when I retired. Now, obviously, we'll get into it, but there's more that led me here than that. But that's pretty much the decision that had me, in my military career, which, I, as much as I didn't want to, I'd already, I'd made it to where I wanted to be when I first joined the military, and then some. So I was, as much as I missed the camaraderie and the getting up every morning at 4 a.m, being in the office at 5 a.m, like an hour and a half early than we need to be there just because, and hanging out with everybody. I miss those times. Probably more than the military itself. You just form all those bonds, and everyone says you get up and do the same thing over and over again. It gets boring, but getting up in the morning time, putting your uniform on, and going to be with those others that are putting a uniform on is a little different than just getting up every morning and doing the same thing over and over again. So if I could go back in, I probably would. I wouldn't be able to do much, but I'd probably go back in if they asked me to. I do miss. I really do miss. I don't miss all the kind of the for lack of better terms, all the BS that comes within a lot of that stuff. But I definitely miss the camaraderie and being with people every day that are in uniform. So. So yeah, but that's what led to my retirement. Like I said, it was bittersweet, but it was what I had to do.
Well, there's a lot there to unpack. I mean, you kind of glossed over a lot of things that were major impacts in your life. You have the motorcycle accident, you lose a limb, you go back and you're jumping out of planes and you're a leader, in the military. And then all of a sudden you have this happen while you're deployed, and then they take another 4 inches off your leg. I mean, these are all unbelievable things. And you talk about it like it's nothing. I mean, you're an amazing man. You must have an amazing tolerance of pain and perseverance. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's all perspective, I guess. It's all perspective, I guess. I'm sure I can cover up a lot of it a lot of times, but yeah. But I mean, everyone's different. My motivation was, to kind of overlook that stuff as one, being competitive again. And just trying to continue to do all the things I did before, because I didn't want to be that guy sitting on the sidelines. So, you always push and persevere when you set your mind to the things that motivate you, and that's kind of where I tried to keep my mindset. Just there's always somebody that's having a worse day than you are. So I'm still able to walk from here to next week when some people can't walk, or there's some people that just can't do life, and I'm still able to do everything I did before. Maybe a little slower in some points, but that could be because of my leg, or it's because I'm getting older. But I don't have anything to complain. I'm still on this side of the dirt, and for a million reasons I probably shouldn't be. But I'm still here. And that's just motivation in itself.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty awesome. Can you share a memorable moment from your time as a leader that made you particularly proud of the soldiers under your command?
Man, that's hard. I don't know if I can, pick just one. I think honestly, our last deployment to Afghanistan in 2009 and 2010 was hell. I mean, we were out on mission probably 6 days out of the 7 days in the week, and we were in firefights every single day. Or, we'd have, people being injured, whether it's from, direct or indirect fire, IEDs. I honestly think I can't ever, put it on one soldier, because it takes one soldier for the other soldier to do what they got to do. The mere fact that they would just get up every morning and go do the same thing without hesitation or crying about it, or just come with a reason why they couldn't go on mission. Seeing that in itself as a leader is motivating for myself. Just watching them do. I mean, they knew it with the way it was for us. They knew at any moment in time that an ID could get us, or we could be in another firefight, and that may be it. But they woke up focused to do the mission, and I never heard any complaints. I honestly think that last deployment was probably very eye opening on the will and fortitude that and just selfless service that our soldiers have. I mean, most of them are young. Probably in my mid 30s. I got these young 20-year-olds, some teens, doing what they know could keep them from waking up the next day, and it's just it's a very motivating thing for a leader to see, knowing that you're the one asking them to do it. Nobody asked to go to Afghanistan or Iraq. We know that's what we signed up to do, but being one individual telling, 30 other individuals that this is what you got to go do today, and this is what we're going to go do. And them looking at you and being like, all right, let's go do it. That's very humbling. And I think just every soldier should just impress you every day. And it's hard just to pick one. And I don't think I could, and I don't think it's fair to all those that I had underneath me to single out one individual. But soldiers in general are amazing. The fact that they'll go do what we do, and most not complain. You always have your little 0.01%, but it's just motivating, and that's what most people need to take away from what us 1% did.
Well, I think looking at you as a leader, I don't know how your soldiers couldn't be inspired, knowing you and what you went through, and then to see you out there, on the battlefield, it's an amazing. I can't thank you enough for your service. I mean, I've never been shot at. I've never had someone want to kill me that I know of. But to hear you talk about this stuff again, just like it's second nature, when you lived it for however many years, it's truly amazing. And I think, I hope that everybody that listens to this, recognizes the freedoms that we have are because of men and women out there just like you, with that mentality of, hey, this is our mission. This is why we're here. We're here to protect our country and protect our freedoms. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, that works both ways though too. I mean, all of us that have been part of the global war on terrorism, we were, welcomed back with, hugs and, honors and everything else. I mean, that's gratifying itself, that we know that we're doing what we're doing because of the people back here support us for doing it. Obviously we know our Vietnam veterans didn't get that same respect. World War II, we know is different, and lost, the forgotten wars, the Korean War was a little different, but knowing that we're doing what we do to protect those back here and continue to give us those rights and freedoms, to be welcomed back to where we are, it's a two-way street. And that's motivating in itself. knowing you have people outside of the military that have your back at the same time. So,
yeah. So 2016, was it 15 or 16, you decided to retire, and talk about what was next for you in your life.
So 2016, December 1st was my actual retirement date, but I started terminal leave on September 16th. So between that time frame, I met my wife, Kelly, who had her doctorate in physical therapy at Walter Reed. She wasn't my physical therapist. I think I told you on the phone when I was talking about how we met. I'm going to start from there to answer your last question. That's probably a little easier that way from retirement to now. So I met her, which was kind of a good, a motivating factor to retire too, because we talked after I'd left, the military, and we kept in touch. You know what? I'm going to do what I said I'd never do, and like seriously date somebody and possibly get married. That was never in my future from if you'd asked me before that. But yeah, her and I started talking. I went to her parents' house because her dad was a retired Army colonel, and he used to take people from the hospital that they didn't have anywhere to go. We're just hanging out. So I went over there. Him and I started talking. Like I told you on the phone, him and I were in the same place at the same time, which was Kosovo at the time. And he knew that he'd had some of my soldiers help, on some of their details that the aviation always needed help with. And like I said, the running joke was at that time, you never thought that I was going to marry your 14-year-old daughter at the time when you and I were talking in Kosovo. So it's kind of like the running joke now. But that had a lot of stuff, I had a lot of influence when I retired too. But so my official retirement date was December 1st of 16. My terminal leave started on September 16th of 16. So when I signed out, I had my retirement rocking chair, which it was an actual rocking chair that they'd made me when I retired, in the back of my truck and my gym bag. And I drove to Bristol, Tennessee. So my wife is a Virginia Tech alum. It was called the Battle of Bristol game at Bristol Raceway. And it was Tennessee and Virginia Tech. So I signed out on terminal leave from Bragg, drove to Tennessee, watched the Bristol game. And that's kind of where my after retirement life started, was from that drive there to Bristol to watch that football game with Kelly and her parents. So that's where retirement officially started. And then obviously from there, met my wife. Like I say, we had her doctorate. Am I answering the question you asked, or did I ramble away?
You're doing good.
You're good. But my question is, she wasn't 14. She wasn't 14 in Bristol, was she?
Nope. She wasn't. Nope. There's an age gap there, but nope, she sure wasn't. She was she'd have been 30. She was 30. So I was 39. Yeah, so she was 30.
That's better.
Yeah, so we were good on that regard. I didn't have to worry about going to jail or anything. So we were good.
So that's where your relationship and your retirement start.
Yep, that's where it started and what kind of led me to Maine. So, so you want me to go into that?
Yeah, talk about that. What happens next? Yeah,
so like I said, she worked at Walter Reed. She'd been there since 2010, and she was the entire time there was all amputee focused. So she was surrounded by that stuff, day in and day night her entire career. So I moved up there. Her and I stayed there for a year before coming up here. But she became friends with Travis. She wasn't Travis's physical therapist, but she became friends with Travis and Kelsey while they were at Walter Reed. And I didn't know Travis like personally. I knew of him because when I'd be running up down the road, people from 82nd Airborne Division would go, I'm like, hey, do you know Travis Mills? I'm like, nope, I don't know him, but someone told me he's a quadruple amputee. He's one of 5 surviving quadruple amputees of the global war on terrorism too, if people didn't know that. But but yeah, I'd be like, nope, I don't know him, but I know of him. So him and I started talking because he was trying to get her to leave Walter Reed, which I still don't understand how he did it fully because that was her passion. But one day he'd called me. I was like, well, man, she's stuck in traffic right there on the Beltway. So this might be a good time to call her and see how she's feeling about the DC, Northern Virginia area. So he'd called her, and she kind of made a decision there. She came home. We talked about it. And her and I weren't married at the time yet. It was here a little bit further ahead, but we were like, okay. So let's go up there. We went up there in November of 2016. We came up here, kind of did a tour of the area and, what we'd be getting into or whatnot. So we had made a decision to come up here. We moved up here in June of 2017, which was literally 5 days before the grand opening of the foundation. So we moved up here. My wife, I didn't come over with a job either, by the way. I was trying to find a job, stocking shelves or something at Target. It's a little more up class than Walmart, so I figured I'd go with Target. But no, I was trying to find a job. I'd been looking before we moved up here, but she came up here. She was the programs director, so basically, she's the one that would set up all the events that the veterans and their families would do while we're up here. Whether it was waterfront or archery or everything else we did up here, as far as ropes course, things like that. So that's what she came up here to do. And she was kind of starting that. She worked part-time for the foundation prior to us moving up here. She did everything, over Zoom or email or whatnot, lining up programming stuff for them to start doing before we decided to move up here. So she was kind of given a playbook prior to the decision. So she came up here to do that. I just happened to start working my tail off, helping them get things all put away and stacked and getting things out of the way for people to see visually or whatnot. And then, Travis and his father-in-law asked me like, hey, you want a job? I was like, yep, I'll take one. So pretty much I was the mowing the lawns and doing all the maintenance and stuff like that, which was easy because we had 3 buildings at that time. And it was only supposed to be 7 to 10 weeks a year. And we surpassed that the first year and way past that as where we're at now. So that's how we did in there. Since then, I have a 4-year-old daughter, Emma. My wife and son unfortunately passed away 13 months ago during delivery complications, which obviously put obviously a big loss in my life, but a big loss for the foundation as well. And we're still reeling from that. Obviously, I'm still reeling from that personally. But that's kind of how we ended up here. And I'm, my 4-year-old daughter and I are going to stop doing what she pretty much built. I mean, she was I always say, and I'm not biased, because pretty much I'm going to tell you, she's the one that pushed Travis and Craig to get us where this foundation is right now. She was definitely the main artery. She's the one that forced those two to get on the road and raise money for us to put ourselves on the map where we are now. I mean, I started with 29 acres and 3 buildings to 54 acres and 11 buildings where we're at now. The building I'm sitting in right now is our health and wellness center. And this was, we kept one ad weeks. We wanted to be year round. But, we were limited as far as resources that we could do as far as expanding the program. So my wife's like, well, if you want to go year round, then we need to add more so I can make programming expand. So we ended up building this health and wellness center, which has a swimming pool in it, and a full-size gym, arts and crafts room and stuff like that. So this was going to be my wife's baby. Unfortunately, she only got to be in this for 6 months, but this is pretty much what put us on the map to be able to go year round to service our veterans and our family members, and whether it's being on the ground physically or doing our online virtual stuff we do, or the stuff we do in Atlanta with the aquarium. So that's kind of where I am right now in life. And like I said, my daughter and I are still around from what happened to my wife and son, but like everything else, we're going to keep pushing on and, do what she'd want us to do.
Chris, you're an amazing man. And, I read your bio when Heather had sent it to me, or Molly sent it to me, and I'm reading through, all the things that you did in the Army, and then, the difficulties that you faced with your leg, and then I got to the part of your wife and your child, and I'm a father of 5 kids, and my question to you is, what keeps you going, man? What keeps you going every day?
Right now, my 4-year-old girl, she's the one that's, I always tell her when she's got me through this, not the other way around. So, we'll keep doing everything. I'm going to live through, her, everyone else is going to live through my daughter. I mean, Kelly's in there every day. Everyone sees that. But at the end of the day, this is, my wife left, her job at Walter Reed to continue to help, our veterans and their families to progress, build those bonds of, family members again, and doing a lot of those first times again with their kids, riding bikes or archery or just a handful of things that they hadn't done, since injury, and that's what she would want us to do. We're gonna carry on what she helped build, like she'd want us to, and that's kind of like. That's a motivation in itself. She wouldn't want us to stop. I know she'd want us to do. We're just going to keep doing that. I mean, it wouldn't be fair to her if we stopped something she helped build. Until I can't do it anymore. We're just going to keep doing it.
That's amazing. I was looking for some quotes today because I knowing your story, and I came across one from Margaret Thatcher, and the quote is, "You may have to fight a battle more than once to win it." And when I think about that, and I think about you and what you've been through, you've fought one battle more than once with your leg, and then now, dealing with the tragedy of your wife and child, and I'm in awe, man. I'm in awe by your strength. I'm in awe by your resilience. I'm in awe that you keep going. And I know when you lay your head down at night, I'm sure that there's always questions of, why me? Why am I the guy going through this? Why did you choose me? And I just want you to know, from a farm kid in rural Ohio, where you're an Ohio boy, you're an inspiration, man. And you're an inspiration to, I'm sure, everybody who comes to the Travis Mills Foundation and, gets to go through all those awesome programs, and I was watching some videos on YouTube, and I saw the facilities and the pool and all. I mean, that's amazing. It's a beautiful facility. And to hear you say, that was part of your wife's vision for the foundation. And you're an amazing man.
Yeah, like I said, I think I'm like anybody else. I'm not gonna be like, thank you type thing. It's everybody though. I mean, Maine's a small village, and without her family, my family, and the thousands of people here in Maine that have helped myself and my daughter out, that's kind of got us to where we're at right now, as far as continue to do what we know she'd want us to do, and trying to. I mean, you're never going to push what happened out of the forefront, but at least when you're doing what she'd want us to do, it gives you something else to think on. So, it's one of those things. I don't really know how to talk about it. What I do know is that this is what she'd want us to do, and until I can't do anymore, until the foundation. If it ever comes to the point where I can't do it anymore, this is what I'll do or be a part of until my end. And my daughter's always going to be part of that too. We're really lucky with this job because there's tons of video of us doing stuff. Her mom doing all kinds of speeches and podcasts and the thousands of pictures. So she's gonna physically grow up with her mom, but there's tons of A-roll and B-roll of how she can grow up with her. We got the the Framio picture thing at the house right now. So every time something pops up on my time hop or something like that, we're throwing it up on there. So she'll stand there and look at, watch a video. She was what, 3? She just turned 3 when, right? Yeah. She just turned 3 when we lost Kelly and Noah. And she knows they're not coming home. I don't think she fully understands why, but, she, says bye to him and good night, and she loves him every night. And she's somehow correlated the moon with heaven. Because, we say they're in heaven. She'll go outside and talk to the moon because that's where she thinks, Kelly and her brother are. And of course, within that year time frame too, I ended up losing my service dog like 2 months after we lost Kelly Noah. And then, 5 months later, we lose Kelly's dog. So she's been really resilient in this past, 13 months, everything that's to go on. So as far as me, watching her get through all this, I don't say makes it easier for me, but I guess I don't want to say easy, but it helps me, process everything as well. Because I got a 4-year-old girl that knows that there's 4 family members not coming home, and she still gets up and runs around and laughs and, everything like that. So she's my motivation.
Yes, for sure. You talk about being able to see Kelly on these podcasts. I actually, when I was doing some research and watching some YouTubes, I watched a podcast with her and Travis, and I'm not sure the other guy that was in the room. Travis must know him really well. He was giving him a hard time, and it was pretty comical, but just to watch that. And that's what I was thinking. And hey, you're going to be able to go back, and she's going to be able to see her mom and see the type of person that she was. And that's really one of the big motivating factors for us to start this podcast, because, I had 2 grandfathers who were in World War II, and I don't really know a whole lot about them. I don't really know a whole lot about their story, going through the war. My grandpa Schmidt was he was part of the Flying Tigers battalion. He was an aircraft mechanic for them. I'm sure he's got some unreal stories, but he passed away when I was in 4th grade. And so for me, when we decided to do this podcast, it was like, what's going to be kind of cool is my grandkids, my great grandkids, whoever down the road are going to be able to look back and see what their grandpa or great grandpa was like. And same thing for you, and for everybody that we have on there, you can see the kind of person they were, and they can tell their story. It's documented. You can see the emotion, and the pain and the smiles, and I think it's just it's a cool thing that podcasts and videos and just the world that we're in right now is a unique thing for kids down the road that, you and I are essentially the same age. We didn't have that growing up. We don't have that unless you got an old VHS tape of somebody made.
Beta.
Yeah. So closing this thing out, man, it's been awesome, but I want to ask you a question. We like to end these, ask you, is there any quote? Is there a Bible verse? Is there a motto? Anything that you live by on a daily basis? When things are tough, is there something that you'd fall back on and you say, this is I know your daughter, this is what keeps you going, but is there any quotes that you can leave our listeners?
I've always kind of looked at, just lead by example. I mean, life isn't about, flow charts or pats on the backs or, things like that. It's helping somebody find that path for them to strive for greatness. And if you can be a motivator for someone, I've always been that person that you should be fighting for the person's job that's above you. Not in a mean way, but that's what you should strive to do. And as a leader, you have the responsibility, if you're being a leader, to ensure that you put that individual on the path for success. And that's kind of the way I've looked at life forever. It's like I said, it's not about flow charts or getting the pats on the backs. It's about putting somebody on that path to lead to greatness. And that's kind of that's kind of how I've always led my life as far as, trying to be a better person, to ensure somebody else can be better than me.
Great advice, Chris. I mean, you're an amazing man. You've been through some things that, are just unbelievable, but you continue to persevere. You continue to be a leader. I again thank you for your service. I thank you for all that you do to this day. I know the Travis Mills Foundation, and we're going to interview Heather here in a little bit for the next episode, and she'll get more into the details of what the foundation does. And it's just an awesome thing. It's an awesome thing for me to learn about, and to hear your story. So super thankful for you taking the time to come and be on the Be Tempered podcast.
No, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me. And like I told you on the phone, I mean, it's good for individuals like yourself to do this stuff so we continue to spread the word. Because anymore today, everything seems like it's by social media. Kind of like us, we don't pay for advertising or anything. It's all word of mouth. So people like yourself that do these types of podcasts, help us, reach out to that community that we need to get in here and help. So thank you guys for doing what you do.
For sure. If somebody wants to find you, how can they find you on social media?
Just hit me up on Facebook or Instagram, or what's the other one? Threads. And of course I'm on, and I'm on X. I mean, yeah, just type the old name in there, Chris Roseberry, and I'm on there. Leave a note, and especially if you listen to this podcast, and I'll hit you back.
Awesome, man. Well, again, thank you.
But I also have my email. If it's a veteran or someone needs to reach out, wants to know about the foundation, just it's chris@travismillsfoundation.org. So by all means, throw it out there to your viewers, and if they need something from us, we'll do what we can, whether it's for the foundation or if they just need guidance or other outlets that they may need help with, send them to us.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll put all those links and socials and everything up on the website, and it'll be on the YouTube and all that good stuff. So, man, thank you again for your time and for sharing your story, and just keep doing what you're doing. You're a good man.
No, absolutely. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time.
All right.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care.
All right, guys.
Hi, my name is Allie Schmidt. This is my dad, Dan. He owns Caitlin's Glass.
Thanks, Allie. Things like doors and windows go into making a house, but when it's your home, you expect more, like the great service and selection you'll get from Caitlin's Glass. Vinyl replacement windows from Caitlin's come with a lifetime warranty, including accidental glass breakage replacement. Also ask for custom shower doors and many other products and services. Call 962-1636, locally owned with local employees for nearly 30 years.
Caitlin's Glass, the clear choice.